May 2nd, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the NinjaTrader platform, 2000 tick chart. This is what the this is what the trading day looked like. It had its gigantic sell-off pretty much right in the pre-market all the way through to maybe about 11 o'clock Eastern Standard. And then it kind of had a really slow grinding rally that came back up. I took 5 trades today, and I was fortunate to get 5 winners, so they all won. I'll go through them. There weren't very many setups I saw during this gigantic sell-off until a little bit later, so unfortunately I missed some of these. Well, I didn't find a good way to enter. Look down at the descriptions below. You can see the timestamps of where I took my trades as well as where I thought I saw setups. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. So this is the pre-market, this grade shaded area. Now in the pre-market, it's really hard to tell what's going on because the volume actually at the end of the day, well, you find out at the end of the day, the volume was actually pretty high. But in the pre-market, it was actually quite low. Now there was one piece of economic data that came out, but it wasn't, well, it kind of moved the market slightly. It was the jobs report at 7 o'clock, which is right about here. 7 o'clock Eastern Standard, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard, which is right here, but you didn't really see quite a big reaction. So prices started selling off even before the market opened. And I drew this trend channel going down. It kind of touched once, twice, but it had an overshoot here, but it kind of fit somewhat well here. This big one doesn't come into play yet because I didn't find it. This is the highs and lows of the pre-market, but the pre-market, the highs and lows didn't really have much of a bearing on what prices did today either. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it. So prices continue selling off right when the market opens. I see this first setup. I see a new entry, I see a first entry short and then a second entry short. So there's a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. This is a pretty decent setup. Let's see. Excuse me. Pretty decent signal. This is an okay signal bar. There's barely enough room for a scalp, but it is there. It has EMA rejection, and this is kind of early in the day. You don't know that it's going to have this gigantic sell-off, so it is a trade if you're super aggressive, but I didn't quite like it. Maybe if this candle closed very bearish, like down at the bottom, like an inverted hammer, then I might have considered taking it, but I just left that one alone. Price is chopped. I drew this shortened trend channel here and touched 3 times, and then touched, well, considering however you counted it, touched 2 times. Prices continue moving down. I don't see a good second entry setup. I mean, you could say there's a new high, first entry long, second entry long, and then a failure, but it's too far from the EMA to have any good feel that it's worthwhile trade. Prices continue moving down. I see a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. Technically, it's a third entry short, but you can also see it as maybe 2 legs up. I didn't see this in real time, or I didn't recognize it in real time, so I didn't think about taking a trade here. But up till here, the EMA has been respected. Again, you don't have this larger trading range yet, or trading channel yet. I just go ahead and, I guess, move it out of the way for now. Prices continue moving down. I do see a new low here. Actually, I counted it from here as a new low. You don't break the low until you get to here. So the first entry short. This one actually doesn't break below this one, so it's almost a double bottom, and the second entry short. I saw that, and I thought it was a possible trade, but the signal bar really wasn't good because it's at the top of the candle. So it's kind of a higher, well, it closed bearish, but the overall characteristics shows that it's kind of bullish, and it did reject the EMA. So it is a possible trade, but it's just, there's also enough room for a scalp before you hit the lows, but it looked a little congested to me. And on a day like today, I didn't really want to take too many chances yet because I haven't seen enough, because it's only about an hour since the market opened. So I didn't want to take an unnecessary risk too early. Prices continue moving down. It's following this trend channel, which I kind of draw. So I have these multiple trend channels now, this one, second one, a third one. This bigger one's kind of engulfing, and then later I kind of toyed with the idea that perhaps there's something here. Touch once, touch twice, and I wasn't sure where the bottom one was. I eventually ended up putting it right here, and it confirms much, much later. Price continued moving down, and this is actually where I took my first trade. I saw a new low here. It's first entry short. This technically makes a second entry short right here. And I thought, okay, two legs that were clean, that went up once, twice, and it just barely broke the EMA, and right here it came back and closed. So I actually entered on this trade. I felt it was a little risky, but the overall bias is bearish, and it's very strong by bearish. So I thought, this is the first break of this channel here. So it's probably going to go down and test this new low because it already tried to break out and push up twice. And if I wasn't sure then that I knew this lower high would have given you a confirmation of the second entry short. Now, since I was already in the trade, I didn't need to take it. But if I wasn't in it, then I would have considered maybe taking this trade. Although it's a little congested here, there's enough room to get down to the bottom. I end up getting out of the trade, which is good. I see a new high here, first entry long. Technically, this is a second entry long right here. Excuse me. There's a new high here, first entry long. All right, let me just zoom in real quick. It's a little bit hard to see. There's a new high. This first entry long is actually one tick below here, and it goes down. And this is a double top here. So this is technically where the second entry long is made. And I saw this as a failure because the second entry long fails right on this candle where it almost touched the EMA, came back down. But I thought the signal bar was somewhat decent, but I wanted to come up and touch the EMA. And on a day like this, as I mentioned, I just want to be a little bit less ambitious just yet. The prices continue moving down and draw the shortened trend channel. There's a lot of shortened trend channels happening today, but overall the bias is bearish. So I'm not looking to go long on anything. It's all going short at this point because going long feels very risky. There's just too many sellers in the market. Prices continue moving down. I see a failed second entry long and a second entry short right here. So it makes a new low, and it's just been making new lows all day. It starts from here as new low, first entry short, and then it pulls up, and it makes a second entry short. But not only that, I saw it as a failed second entry long from this new high, first new high, comes down, pulls up, first entry long, comes down. This is where it makes a second entry long, and then you have all these dojis, and then it fails right here. So I saw this. I thought potentially there's a trade here. It's a pretty good setup because it's set up below the EMA, which is this guy. So it's trending down, and it is indicating bearish. But unfortunately, when I saw this, I was away. Well, I came back and I saw this, and I was away from my desk. So it's hard to say that I would have taken this trade or not, but I do see it, especially in hindsight, which we all had the benefit of. I think I would have taken the trade, but it's unfair to say I really would have because I wasn't there in real time. Prices continue moving down. And now this is actually where I take my second trade. I saw a new low here. Again, all these new lows. And at this point, I'm not as afraid of taking a short because even though this is a gigantic push down and you're thinking it has to bounce eventually, it doesn't necessarily. There still could be more bearish push all the way down. So I saw a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. And I'd like the second entry short right here because this is actually one tick higher than this green bar. So actually tick down here. And I entered on I waited for this candle to close. I entered on this green candle. And the green candle actually had one tick below, and I had my stop not just pretty much one tick above here. And I was able to survive just barely because it never ticked above and tested. And then it came down, got my profit. Then prices continue moving up. And here it touched so here I have this larger channel going down. It only confirmed once at the top. First touch, two touches, only touched twice, but on the bottom it touched once, twice, and three times. So I'm more sure that there's a support right here, and then I'm not sure about the resistance up here. So I was thinking maybe it's going to come back up to here, touch the top of this descending trend channel, and I would be able to look for a second entry short or failed second entry long to go short with. But it kind of chops sideways in this trading range, and it comes back down. It confirms only one time, but not good enough for a trade. Technically, I saw a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, but I didn't like going long, especially on a day like this, especially off this pretty crappy, not that great signal bar. So I just sat on my hands. I do take a second entry short right here. So I saw this a new low here. So first entry short, first entry short, second entry short. But then I thought, okay, well, I also saw it as one leg up here, pulls back, and the second leg up here. So I actually took the second entry short right around here. And EMA is still holding. I saw this as, there was potential. It broke out of this. It pushed up once, came down, tested the bottom, tried to push up a second time, and it came back down. So this one was a little bit more risky. I would say kind of like a riskier, aggressive trade, my third trade. And I think I probably, in hindsight, could have just skipped it because it already created a triple test, one touch here, two touch here, three touch. And so when it came up here, to go short is a little riskier because now when it touched the fourth time, I'm a little concerned because my stop is up here and my profit target was kind of, because I took it one candle below right here, or one tick below this green one. So I'm asking for a lot, actually. I'm asking for it to not only break through the lows, but to go down further. So it was certainly an anxious hold that I think in hindsight I could have skipped, but I was fortunate that I got my profit on this candle. Then prices continue moving up. It's kind of almost starting to reverse now. So it breaks out of this descending line, and I'm wondering if it's going to continue up. I see one measured leg here, and I saw a second measured leg here. But I don't take any trades. I just kind of sit and watch. It almost makes a measured move on this point here, pulls back and comes back up again. And it breaks out of this channel, first break, and it makes a new high. So now I'm thinking it probably might resume a short move down, mainly because even though this is a strong push up, the overall bias of the market has been this gigantic bearish push down. So sellers are definitely in control and made this push up, and now I'm thinking it's probably going to continue, made this push up, continue trading back down. Unfortunately, I don't see a good entry because you could say there's a new high, first entry long. There's no second entry long that shows up until right here. In the second entry long, I don't have this trend channel in play yet, so I don't really know that it could potentially bounce. And even if it did, it's only the second confirmation. So unfortunately, I missed this trade, but I did see potentially a new leg up, one leg up, pulls back. So it's one leg up, two pushes back down, and the second leg up. And I saw this as a potential fail breakout, second entry short. Unfortunately, I wasn't here or wasn't at my desk to take this trade because it's a fail breakout of this trading range potentially, because I kind of drew it across here when it touched two times. I thought there might be something here, and then down here, this is where it touched three times the triple test and plus a fourth test, and this is where I took the risky trade. But I saw this as a fail breakout, second entry short, because this is technically a new low. If you started from here, it'd be a new low, first entry short, second entry short right here. When second entry short's formed, when it breaks below this green candle, then the count resets. Then it would have been a first entry short, second entry short. This is a pretty decent candle. It's a little doji-ish and it's kind of toward the top, but it is a failed breakout, I thought. So it might have been worth a trade, but unfortunately, I just kind of thought, the signal bar was okay. And it had just been a little bit more, and it just made a, excuse me, it just made this really big bullish candle up. And if this actually closed a little bit lower, I would have felt more confident the sellers, the bears were more in control, because it just made this big push up and it struggled a little bit. This could almost be considered a doji. And so I was concerned that maybe it'll continue back up, but it turns out it would have worked. And then this is where I draw this trend channel because I had it touch 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And I thought, okay, and then I wasn't sure where the top of the line was. But I also saw this as a second entry long here. It's new high, first entry long, second entry long. It's actually a little bit placed off. This is actually a pretty decent signal bar. And it's a pretty good trade because it's a pretty good signal bar right here. It kind of flattened out, even though it's a little bit below the EMA. And then there's enough room to get to the top of this trading range. So this was probably a worthwhile trade to try out, but I didn't recognize it fast. I didn't recognize it quickly enough in real time. So I missed that trade. Prices continue moving up and it's kind of testing the midline of this channel right now. I don't see any really good entries. You could say there's a new high, first entry long, second entry long. There's a terrible signal bar, so I left that one alone. Same thing over here, first entry long, second entry long. This wasn't the best signal bar because it didn't touch the EMA as well. And then you technically have a third entry long here. So I just kind of left these guys alone, waiting for prices to give me something a little bit more firm. Prices move out. I have this inside overlapping channel, and I saw this as a overshoot, and it's coming back into range. So I'm thinking it's going to overshoot back down the bottom. It does. It breaks through. And since it overshot this bigger one, I'm also thinking it's going to come back and potentially touch this down here. So I saw this as a failed second entry long off this kind of like this bigger move. So it's like here, first entry long, second entry long, and it hasn't failed yet because it hasn't broke. And then it technically fails on this candle, but I also saw a lower high on this candle. So when I saw the second entry long failure, I thought it might be a possible trade. It's set up below the EMA, which is always good. And it's the first break of this downward channel. So it's the first break. I'm thinking it might come back down and touch, but it could also make a second push up. So when I saw that, I thought, well, if I was more aggressive, I could take that trade. And it's coming off an overshoot. So it's kind of risky to take a long, you know, if it was a second entry long, take a long going up. So taking a short kind of made sense because you think it's going to come back and touch the bottom of this. But I wanted to look for a lower high. So I thought if there's a lower high, maybe that would be worthwhile because this is also getting close to the mid line of this channel. And you do get a lower high, lo and behold. So I didn't take this trade, but because this candle just wasn't that clean. If it was closed a little bit lower, I would have taken it. So when I saw this candle here, then I thought I felt I might have missed the boat because I thought if I try to put an entry here, it's a little riskier than I'd want. So I'd want to put it up here. But when you do that, you kind of miss out and it never comes back to pick you up. The prices continue going down, then I do see it touch this bottom part now. So I saw this as two big legs. This big arrow here is pointing for one leg down, breaks out, second leg down. So it's a measured move, these two arrows. So this is actually where I took an entry because when it double bottomed, I like the looks of that. And I actually put my ticker, my entry one tick above this candle on the next candle. And so right here, I don't get filled. Right here, I get filled. So right here, I get filled. I'm also trusting that this is a key entry point because this has touched so many times the bottom that this over here is probably going to have a bounce. Even though there's an overshoot, it already tried to push up and it double bottomed here. So I'm feeling it's probably strong enough to potentially get a bounce for me. So I enter one tick. I'm on this candle now. My stop's one tick below this double bottom. And it flashes up, takes me out, which is good. And I didn't have a run or anything. Price continue chopping around. It comes back, tests this again, and it's respecting it. Unfortunately, I don't see a clean entry. You could say this is a new high, first entry long, second entry long here, except this is a terrible signal bar, and this could just be considered one leg down, kind of like one leg down because it's only one tick above. So I didn't really trust the second entry. It wasn't clean enough. Then price continue chopping around, moves up, it breaks up. I see one leg up, and I see a second leg up, and I don't see a good second entry though. Prices continue moving down. It comes down, tests the EMA. EMA is holding. I saw it right here. I saw a potential second entry short here. So new low here, first entry short, second entry short, but I didn't like the looks of this candle because it's too bullish for a signal bar. It does create the second entry short here, but I just didn't like it in real time. Then it made this 4 touches up here, comes back down, makes one leg down, pushes up once, pulls back, pushes up a second time, and now it's potentially making the second leg. So I draw this measured move, and it comes down, and this is when it completed this measured move. I'm still trusting that this is kind of a reversal of this big bearish pattern because now it's respecting the EMA from above. So I actually entered this as my last final trade. Let's just zoom in. I saw a new high here, first entry long, second entry long was made on this candle. So this is the signal bar. I thought it was a pretty decent signal bar. It's made on this candle. I wasn't trusting it because I saw it. I didn't enter on this candle. I wanted to close, see how this red candle closed, and it closed very bearish. That made me nervous. Then this candle, it kind of trapped everybody that went, I think, long early because they went long. It probably got stopped out here. And when it closed up very bullish, I set my order one tick above this green bar. Actually, for this next candle, after this close, I set my order, got it ready. I got filled when it flashed down, and my stop is down here. And then it went up and filled my filled my profit. So that was pretty good. And prices continue moving down. This is kind of getting close to the end of the day. It just kind of chops toward the end of the day and into the close. So there's a little, there's probably 1 or 2 trades in here that are a little bit more ambitious or aggressive, a little more riskier. But overall, I think I was happy with most of the trades I took. So hopefully that was helpful.